All right, guys, gonna work on a couple of projects. This one is just simply giving some much needed maintenance, some seasonal maintenance. Last time I shot it was in the rain, and I've locked it back since then, and you can see that there's no response to the bolt release, right? I'm able to manipulate the safety, but basically this thing is locked back. If I drop it, it's gonna slam forward, right? So it's dirty, it's full of carbon, right? I put a little bit of lube in it, so it's not totally bad, but it does have, it is sticky, right? So it is not in the best condition. So we're gonna break this bad boy open and give it a thorough wipe down, check for parts. I'll throw some pictures in there, and final results, everything should be nice and clean and ready for the rest of the summer. All right, so let's take a look at our bolt carrier here. Get some sunlight here. You see it's pretty dirty, right? Lots of carbon. There's still lube residue there, which is good. So this will operate, right? But it's about that time. I do this maybe every 6 months, where I break it down, wipe it down, and check for parts. I don't use any solvents or anything super crazy. I use like this kind of frog lube clone, Seal One. I think this is basically the same thing. It's a CLP, right? And I use it to clean it off, get everything wiped down, and then in itself acts like a dry lube, but on top of that I use my gunfighter oil. So normally I wipe this down. Charging handle, let's take a look at this. You know, see, pretty, I get a little focus here. So pretty grody, right? Wipe that down, and then we want to look at the inside here. Right, this carbon isn't really going to make much of a deal. This might be, I don't know if this is oil or water. Should be probably oil. But we want to go ahead and wipe all this stuff out. Do a little bit more maintenance here. The upper, this is going to be where I'm really going to pay attention to. Right, so pretty fucking nasty. So pretty dirty here, right? Got a lot of like residue. We want to get in there and clean all that out as best as possible. Re-lube it up, and then it'll be good again for another 6 months or more. I've been firing a lot of rounds through this. Again, let's look at it with a little bit of the flash. I'll break this down and show you the individual components as well. All right, so you can kind of see all the carbon build up, right? And we're gonna wipe this down and check for you know, burrs, breakage, anything like that. It's pretty grody in here, right? Drill instructors, heart attacks. Gonna check the extractor and all that. Once we're done, we're gonna put it back together with a little bit of lube. What am I using to clean this? Just paper towels and Q-tips, nothing fancy. Just wipe it down and then use the Q-tips for the detailed parts. Throw on the lube, call it a day. All right, as you can see, much better, right? You know, left a little bit of that film on there, acts as a dry lube, and I can add the standard liquid lube to it, but this gives it a nice film, and when it gets warm, it's gonna be a little bit slicker. Firing pin, you know, still kind of grody, but it doesn't really matter. This is much better than it was, and so if you're mixing oils, make sure that they're both synthetic versus petroleum-based and a synthetic, or just two petroleum-based. That way they don't conflict with each other and start breaking each other down. The main thing I'm looking for here is any kind of weird burrs, right? Any breakage, cracks, and lugs, right? And then break points here, cracks, anything like that, right? The tail end is really hard to get clean, so I don't worry about it too much. But that's about it, looking pretty good there. Gonna clean the inside of the gun now and go from there. All right, nothing crazy here, just wiping this down, added, you know, a small coat of oil. If I get the wet lube, I'll throw a drop down in those springs, but otherwise it's moving pretty freely. All right, you know, it's not every little nook and cranny, but pretty good. You know, I can actually see inside the star chamber there. I just put a Q-tip down into the chamber, right? Clean that out. I don't punch the barrel. And just making sure everything is good here. So it's about ready to be put back together, do a function check, and then we're good to go. Look at a little bit of rust right there. Won't hurt nothing. All right, so looking there, good to go. All right, so where to put the lube, right? So before we put it into the bolt carrier, we're just gonna put some on this little ring, on the gas rings, right? And we're gonna spread that, on the butt tail. And we're just gonna use our finger to spread that around, and then we'll put it inside the bolt carrier. We have it in there, we're gonna check to see if it moves. It moves freely, right? So let's come over here. Make sure it moves pretty freely. We could always throw a little bit of lube down in here. Spin that around. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Right, the extractor is gonna go outboard. One thing we're also cleaning here is making sure that bolt face is nice and clean and getting under the extractor claw. But here, cam pin, same thing. We're just gonna put some here, and then we're gonna kind of spread it out and then throw it in there. All right, slides in there much nicer. It was really gritty before. So rotating it, make sure the bolt is out. We'll put a little bit of residual oil that's on our fingers onto the firing pin, and then we'll throw that bad boy in there. All right, so we made sure that the firing pin is all the way pushed in, and then we do the cotter pin is all the way in. So we check it by firmly slamming it down, right? It shouldn't come out. And what we'll do is we'll do a function check, and how we do that is we flick it out and then we push it back in. All right, and we're looking for resistance. So I'm looking at this. I'm probably gonna have to change my gas ring soon, right? Because this normally should have a little bit of resistance there. So probably gas rings are gonna be due, but normally you have a little bit of resistance on that. A little bit of a light oil on the charging handle. We're gonna place that in there. It's kind of hard at this angle. Get it in its notch, right? So now it's ready to feed the bolt carrier, and what we'll do is we'll lube this. I'll show you the spots where to put the lube, and assume this is on both sides. Here, this corner, this little rail here, here. Like any spots you see bare metal, right? Maybe a little bit on here. And then we're gonna hit the lugs that are on this side and just kind of keep those kind of wet. We're gonna let that settle. So we'll rub these in here to spread out. Make the oil do good. You know, we're gonna kind of keep this face kind of dry, right? So it doesn't attract things. Flip it over and then oil it the same way, and then we'll throw it back in there. Actually, we'll put a little bit down here on the bottom. And we're doing the rails, the back of the gas key, around the cam pin, and around these lugs. We're gonna leave the lugs wet. All right, so make sure the bolt's out. We lay it in here. Should start feeling pretty smooth here. Right, it's nice and smooth. It should snap right in, good to go. You gotta check out kind of the smoothness, right? Make sure you spread the oil out there. Oh yeah. There we go. It's one-handed, but it should feel pretty smooth here. You'll be judging my socks and sandals here. This is the dad fit right here. All right, so much smoother, right? There's no hang-ups or anything. Like again, I think I'll need new gas keys. I've got a set from a BCM SOP-mod kit that I bought, so I'll use those. In a pinch, I could just change out the bolt. But nice and good. We'll do a function check, take it off safe. All right, and we're gonna hold this, see if it resets. Should reset. We're good to go. We'll leave it on rack safe for now. Close the dust cover. We'll check the optic lenses, and this thing should be ready to go. I'll do a zero check here, just if I change ammo. I zeroed it recently, but you know, want to make sure it's still good to go with all the rain and different weather. But Nothing too crazy to sit there and do maintenance on an AR-15. Just wipe it down really good, add some oil in the right places, and just keep after it. So the aftermath, right, I'm just using Seal 1. It's kind of like frog lube, right? And then a little bottle of gunfighter oil, right? Just some dirty Q-tips and paper towels. Mainly nothing crazy, right? You know, I think I use this to scrape the that boat tail a little bit, and that's it, right? You don't need a whole lot of stuff. You don't need 10 steps or 10 different cleaners, just real simple stuff. All right, this can be done with CLP or your basic type stuff. Note your your rim oils and your hoppies and stuff. That stuff is like, it works and it's old school, but you know what I'm saying, it doesn't stay long. It evaporates or runs off. So I like some of the synthetic stuff because it does kind of stay where it's supposed to be.